lead singer of Megadeth, is with me here on the couch. Nice to meet you.
You too, thank you.
Now, this is music that I don't normally listen to, but some of the things you say are very provocative. First of all, the image of babies being hung up that you have in the video we saw and on the cover. This is, the album is called Euthanasia, spelled Y-O-U-T-H in Asia. So tell me what you're saying about this.
Well, it's pretty obvious that there's something wrong with this picture, and the song itself is a cry for help for young people. I believe that when young people show any form of autonomy when they're growing up. See, parents get social mileage out of their children, and the first time they show any kind of sense of self, the parents, they're affected by it. If they behave according to what the parents' standards are, the parents are elated. If they show any autonomy adversely from what the parents want, then the parents will give up on them. Then comes the neglect and the abandonment issues. And these kids want to get nurturing, and they'll find it with drugs, alcohol, guns, crime, violence, teenage pregnancy, ultimately suicide. And that is where the term euthanasia came in.
So is this a cry for help then for this generation
I believe
that you're
so.
putting forward?
It's a line from the song that says, we've been hung out to dry.
Yeah, and you say, I can't help but think that someone's forsaken you and me.
Yeah.
And that's the generation, like your parents, that generation?
I believe it's just about for anybody, because looking at the generation above you too, there were times when they turned their back on you. You know, you've went through hardships just like all of us have.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, this thing of rage, which you see again and again in heavy metal music. What is it? I mean, why is there such rage out there among heavy metal fans?
I think it's just one of the emotions that we as people possess, and I think heavy metal might capitalize on it more than other people. There's ignorance and apathy in just about every musical form to certain feelings, because they promote themselves based on certain feelings. And I believe that heavy metal is more about a generation using the energy of anger to promote what it is that they want for themselves.
But is the music angry? I mean, for somebody like me looking at this music, I mean, it's obviously loud. It's got incredible dynamic energy. Is it good energy or bad energy? Is it angry music? It
really depends on where you are in your mentality when you're listening to it. I've had people come up to me and say that there's certain songs that we have that have saved their lives. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs when a song can save someone's lives, but it is very flattering for me to know that. And for me, there's all different types of music to listen to, and each type of music complements what your emotions are for that time. In our album, every type of emotion is confronted with each one of the songs on this record.
You know, of course, that you may think this is a bum rap, but when people talk about heavy metal music, they almost inevitably talk then about alienation, and the question of suicide has come up with the Judas Priest case. What do you think about that?
Again, it's ignorance and apathy. I think that they're just stereotyping heavy metal in general. Now, granted, a lot of heavy metal bands are like that, and they make their success based on that shock tactic. I feel myself that the brackets of heavy metal are not strong enough to confine Megadeth. I think that we're much more intelligent than that, we're more articulate than that, and we have more musical talent than what most heavy metal bands possess.
So there's a song on this album, though, called "À tout le monde," which reads very much, like a suicide song. Reads like a note that someone leaves when they've killed themselves. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, that's pretty accurate. It's not about suicide, though. It's the things left unsaid. When my mother had died, my sister told me that your mom is sick, she's in the hospital. And I got in the car and I raced to the hospital. Unbeknownst to myself, she had already died. My sister lied to me. And I carried that guilt and shame around that I didn't drive fast enough for so long until I finally realized that she had died before I even got the phone call. And this is just a song about the things that are left unsaid. Would you rather know that you're going to die and say, oh, I'm sorry, and be bleeding about it? Or would you just say, look, I love you? I would rather have someone say that they love me, so that would be the last thing that they said to me, instead of, please forgive me.
You've had a very interesting life. In a way, I guess you could say it's a typical life. I mean, you've been through the mill, you've had a drug problem, you've come back. Can you talk about that and how that's formed your music?
It's given me some credibility, and I believe...
With your fans, you mean?
Well, not only with them, but with the generation that has been turned off to all of us that play and listen to this type of music. And it also has given me a sense of understanding of what the people who like this music are going through. Now, I can talk with another person who's suffering from addiction or alcoholism, and there's nothing more therapeutic than talking to someone who's been there. And for them to say, look, here's somebody who really is proud of the fact that we like him, and that he really cares about me. Also, he understands me. There's not a lot of people out there that really give freely of themselves to the people that listen to their music. They just want their money. We're not in this for the money. We're in it because we bring pleasure to people. And I enjoy myself making a difference.
Is there enough of you, or is there enough, I guess, of any star to go around for your fans and for your family? I mean, because when you're on stage, I think you've said before, you have to give 100%. Right. So have you got stuff left over for
It's
later?
a matter of supply and demand. You have to keep yourself in good health and in good spirits, and I think that emotional stability and health is just as important as physical stability and health. Because if you're not together up here and you don't have sound mind and body, and you can't confront issues that come up to you with some sense of stability and serenity, it's going to affect you internally, because you will start stomaching the stress and eventually you'll explode.
I mean, it's obvious you take your work very seriously.
Well, not too seriously, because you'll become a parody of yourself if you get all caught up in that.
Yes, with the deep, dark lyrics.
Yeah, we're not going to change.
But, I mean,
we're not going to change our name to like a symbol where they say the band that used to be called Huh.
Gee, that's such a good idea. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about politics. I know that, especially in previous albums, you've talked a lot about politics and Reaganomics, and you were a reporter of sorts, right, for the presidential election?
Yeah, I just
on
put in
MTV?
an application for this show.
Did you? Well, then you'll be great, eh? Now that you know who our audience is,
Yeah.
exactly. But tell me what that was like. I mean, because young people are so cynical about politics and about the vote.
I wasn't really trying to get anybody to vote per se, like persuade them to vote for anybody. I was telling them that by not voting, that they were automatically voting for the winner. And it's not saying who to vote for, it's maybe who to vote against.
And what kind of experience was that for you? I mean, to be a reporter and to go out and cover these things.
It was very eye-opening, and I shudder to think about the corruption that I did not see. The amount of corruption that I saw, just with the amount of time that I was there, was stupefying. And to just see that much in that little amount of time, if I was in the politic game for a living, I think I probably would go insane. I mean, I don't think that really there are any real politicians that are public servants. Public servants do things for a volunteer reason. And you find a politician that works for free, that has no hidden agenda, and has no ulterior motive, and that's someone who is a servant of the public. They don't do that. They take our money and they corrupt our government, and they ultimately affect our children.
We started talking before a bit about your fans and the kind of rage that they have. When people come to your concerts, what do you think they're coming for?
I think it's a sense of redemption and release, some salvation. I'm not anybody's savior, but I know that by them getting to release some of this aggression, there are certain endorphins that the body produces, and they go away feeling a lot better. Again, I believe that to give something to people other than taking from people is the most rewarding thing for us so far.
When you people who don't know you, when you meet people who don't know you and you tell them what you do, what's their reaction?
That's kind of a weird question to ask. I can't really. I don't know if I can answer that properly.
What I'm getting at is this is something that you make a very good living at. It's something that you obviously believe in.
See, that's a preconception.
What, you don't make a good living at it?
It's mediocre.
Well, something that you make
the more you earn, the more you spend.
Yes, that's true. Something you make a reasonable living at. I guess what I mean is when you say, it's a career, though, that would be so exotic to most people.
Right.
When you say, well, I'm, the leader of Megadeth.
Well, if you take into consideration that there was a near-fatal overdose, and that my family almost fell apart, and that we've had numerous lineup changes because of mental and emotional instability, and the fact that so many people in this business commit suicide, I mean, it's not that lucrative. There are prices to pay.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for coming in to talk to us today.
Thank you.